I think this is the most confused I've been watching Arknights since the series began. But it's not bad. I loved this episode. This episode was just full of some juicy bits. Getting to see the origins of Rhodes Island itself, getting to see cute little Amia, getting to see the doctor before they lost their memory, seemingly a very cold and calculative person, which is interesting. Seeing Cal sit back there as well, seeing this old leader they used to have, Therese. I'm curious to hear more about her character. It seemed to imply some sort of conflict between Theresa and Theresa, and eventually he sent people to kill her. Now, what that conflict was, that's the part I'm not sure. It does imply there's two different organizations, and they were in conflict with each other, and hers was, I think, Babel. And eventually, again, it just became Rhodes Island when they found this massive ship that was underground, which we have no clue right now what that ship was there for and how they found it and that they did finish it. All that stuff is there. But yes, also getting to see W's ties to Rhodes Island itself, which is a lot. I was very impressed to see how much she was actually tied in with them, but I think a lot of people were implying that back when she showed up in the first season. Everybody's like, oh my gosh, it's W, and I'm like, yeah, I kind of like her too, because she's crazy, and I like her Seiyu, but I don't know more than that. But here, getting to see that. There's a lot of emphasis in this episode about specifically her race. That her race is seen as devils, and looked down upon, and discriminated against, and seemingly used as weapons of war. Now, yes, it does sort of get into the idea that Sarkaz is pretty much mostly mercenaries. Like, they're becoming mercenaries probably to surviving on the battlefield. It's their way of, feeding themselves. And so they're used a lot. And with her, it seems like out of nowhere, she pops up in front of, Hoarder and Innes, and she picks up the weapon of W, this previous person that was W. It implies later on that, yeah, she's kind of crazy and acts just like the old W. Which I don't know if that means anything, but yeah, it seems like she has a kind of same characteristic about her. She's a little bit crazy. She's hard to control, but she's skilled. And so they're using her. Now, she's going around everywhere with this group until eventually they do get tied in with Babel. And that's when she meets Theresa. At some point during their travel before they got there, though, there was a point where Innes sort of implies that she can't trust W. And that W might be after Hoarder's head because he has this big bounty on him, but she hasn't done it yet. So she's like, I'm not sure if you're looking for that or if you're looking for something else. And that sort of connected for me with the whole situation with Babel. When they get there and they have this ship there and they're brought in, she sees Theresa. And immediately it seems like W falls in massive love with Theresa. Like, she just adores this lady. Like, she finds a camera and she goes to scout. Where's Theresa at? Oh, you're looking for her again. Yeah. And then like suddenly later on, you see like Hoarder and Innes leaving, and then W's over the side. She's trying to get a picture of Theresa. It seems like she was just looking for, I think she was looking for family. I think her on that battlefield and joining Hoarder and Innes, it seemed like she was looking for family, which is very interesting for her character because she seems like a lunatic. She seems crazy. She wants to destroy things. She likes the fact that people can't question her because she can destroy things. She's a lunatic. Nobody stands against me. That kind of thing. But yet, right here, it gives an indication, even when she was with Hoarder and Innes, she was not attacking them. She was not after the bounty. She probably could have made some good money from, taking out Hoarder, but she wasn't doing that. Again, Innes seen that she was waiting for something. She was looking for something. And I think she found that in Theresa. The moment that she seen Theresa, it seems like she just fell for this girl. She wanted to be at her side, always wanted to watch her, always wanted to see what she does. But it seems to imply that after meeting Theresa, getting an introduction to the Rhodes Island, the fact this big old ship that they're going to call it that, getting introduced to Doctor, who seems like, he's very cold-hearted and calculative. You have Calculated over here. She's seen as kind of a machine, but at the same time, she still sees everybody as equal, so that's a positive there. And then you have this sorrowful and, heartwarming woman that's in the middle of it all. And then it seems like that all came crashing down. Again, it implies that Theresa sent people to kill Theresa. And unfortunately, it doesn't show us any of that. It just implies that she's dead, that somebody was sent to take her out, and now they're probably after her now. But no. We're going to run away. We're going to run away from here and leave here. So she finally found family. She finally found somebody that seems like she cared for. Like even Hoarder said, when I told her that she could stay there, she was overjoyed. when do you see her overjoyed besides blowing up stuff and being crazy? It's like this one moment he sees that, no, she was happy that she could stay there. That was when she found a home. And it seems like that home was destroyed. Now, this is where it gets into my theory about why she probably hates the Doctor. And again, this is why it sucks that they don't show what actually happened with that whole situation. I come to assume, based on the fact that later on, when she's finally she joins the reunion with Ines and Theresa. This is a way for us to get out of here. Let's go. They join reunion. They're looking to kind of hopefully find some way of rising up with that whole situation. And at the very end of everything, you jump to episode 1 of the original series, and suddenly, yes, we see why she was in that location. See that she was there because of the reunion, obviously, but she was trying to return a favor there as well, or at least was asked a favor of by Scout, because she knew Scout. And then here, Scout's like, hey, I need to ask a favor. I need to help them get the Doctor out of there. That's what they're there for. That's what they were there for. They knew the Doctor was there. They wanted to rescue him. So Scout's asking as a favor to W, hey, like old times, do me a favor. Help him with the Doctor. And she seems angry. Now, we did see her run into the Doctor in that first episode, or that first season. And the idea that when they ran into each other, it was a little bit of a question mark. Like, it didn't really feel like she was really ecstatic to see him, but it did obviously imply that she knew him. Just how. And even Amia didn't really care much for the bunny girl. This seems to imply this here. She did meet Amia. Amia was trying to warn her about something at some point. She probably, hung out with Amia a few other times because she seemed like she was there for a while. But with the fact that she didn't really like the idea of helping the Doctor, it gives me a sense that something between that period of time where she's ecstatic about being with Theresa and the moment that she's, killing off the last person that seems like was sent to kill Theresa, which that was interesting as well, by the way, the fact that guy seemed like he was sorrowful. He was the guy that was sent with this group possibly to go kill Theresa, and this is why she's killing him, and he didn't like it. All the way into the end, something. It seemed to imply probably all the way into the end, she was still had a face of hope. Still probably was forgiving them. Whatever. Something like that. But something between those two periods of time, I'm assuming what happened again was that a group was sent, and there was a possibility the Doctor made a decision that led to her death. And that's probably why W doesn't like him. Probably doesn't like the Doctor because the Doctor, like they were saying, is cold and calculative and sees people as pawns, which is very stark contrast to how we see the Doctor now after he's lost all of his memories. It seems like he's much more caring of people. Shoot, somebody that was literally coming against them, Frost Nova, somebody that he should see as an enemy, brought her in as an ally and grieves for her loss. This is a person that's very soft, somebody that is complete opposite to the Doctor that we've seen in the past. And I could see that Doctor of the past being somebody that would be less hesitant to sacrifice somebody. He could have made a wrong decision. He could have seen the greater good that would come from possibly not fully defending Theresa, something like that. He made a decision, one way or another, whether directly or indirectly, that led to the death of Theresa, and that's probably why W doesn't like the Doctor anymore. Probably doesn't fully blame him because she doesn't kill him, but again, that could be part in the aspect that Scout was asking as a favor, please help them with the Doctor, help him get him out. It's interesting. I really did like W's story throughout this entire episode, and again, it does give it gives a lot of credit to her character, and I think a lot of it has to do with the conversation with Tala at the end. Because after everything, them coming to this location, and seemingly the warning that Ines gave W before her death, that does imply that there's a desire here to kind of break off from everything. Even though she's now working for Tala, and there was an expectation that Tala seems similar to Theresa in a way, that she's not sorrowful, but she's full of wrath, but they have similarities there. I'd be curious to see if there's some sort of similarity between Tala and Theresa specifically. But I guess in that whole aspect of the auras, that they were following Tala possibly to be another Theresa, but she has two shadows. And it does seem to give a sense that, I don't know what the shadows are yet at this point. I would assume there's sort of an aura, like somebody's soul, so to speak. Not the soul itself, but something. Aura is probably a better way to put it. Their essence. And everybody has one, seemingly. And it does give Ines sort of an indication of what they're feeling. With Tala, she has 2. And so I would assume this is probably going to be a case where she might be a merging of 2 people. It would be cool to find out that she's part Theresa. But in the end, what W comes to a decision to is that seemingly she doesn't want to follow Tala. At some point, she realized there's 2 people there. One's not something that she wants to trust, and that she breaks off from it. But at the very end, what her ultimate decision is throughout this entire journey is that she finds purpose. I like that conclusion of our story is, after all this, after being seemingly a child of war, a mercenary, trying to scrape to survive, finding some sort of control in her life, the fact that she's crazy and just blows things up and makes people scared of her, having some sort of power with that, finding a purpose in Theresa, somebody to follow, somebody that she wanted to help out, losing that, but then ultimately at the very end, after being exploited for so long and seeing loss for so long, she just wants to help them get out of that. Wants to liberate this race because we're constantly tools. That's a cool little conclusion to come to her. I think, again, at the end of the story, I go from thinking that she's just a crazy chick, just a crazy chick, to thinking, okay, she's a crazy chick that hates the fact that she lost the one thing that gave her stability, to, okay, so this is a person with a purpose. This is a person with a purpose. She wants to essentially get rid of this discrimination that's happening to her people and break off from them, liberate them, pull out of there. It was really, really cool. Really cool. Gave her a lot of interesting dynamic to her character. Outside of that, though, I seen the sort of origin of Rhodes Island. I'm curious to get more information about that. Maybe I'm forgetting something from the past episodes, but I was a little confused around what this conflict was between these 2 organizations, or how that has to do, where exactly they were. That's the other big question, where exactly they were. But it seems to apply 2 big organizations. They had sort of a conflict between the 2 of them. And again, these people were caught in the middle of it. They're having this little war, and we're caught in the middle of it. Again, technically mercenaries, but probably a lot of innocents as well. But again, implying the fact that Theresa headed this organization, had Doctor, had Count sit underneath him, at some point bringing W in, and again, find this big, massive ship underground, find the parts in it, trying to salvage it. And I would assume probably built Rhodes Island at that point, but then again, some group was sent in to take out Theresa. And again, Doctor probably makes some decision that probably cost Theresa her life. I'm kind of curious how that'll apply as well, not just with W, how that'll apply with Count as well, because that sort of does give a lot of credit to my theory that he made a decision that cost her life, or at least, again, indirectly. But Calcid, again, wasn't too happy with Doctor either. So there's a lot, again, there's a lot that's going to probably be in that little gap there that they wanted to, yes, probably strategically skip for the moment. And we'll wait. For all the Arknights fans down there, we'll wait. We'll wait to see if when the anime wants to adapt that whole segment. I'm not looking for answers, by the way. There's a lot that probably happened in that little segment there. Horderer and Innes' story was interesting, though. I'm hoping we'll probably get more of Horderer. Obviously, we're probably not going to get more of Innes. A lot of what Innes' character was is around her ability, which seemingly, again, seemed to be able to look into people, looking into their shadows, seeing what sort of is coming from that. Again, possibly an aura. It did seem like at some point she'd end up using on Patriot, which was interesting as well, seeing that he is, of course, and I think we've mentioned this before, that he's some sort of ancient of their race. What else did I miss? I did like that statement that was made, though, as Horder and Innes was leaving, and again, pointing out the fact that, Count sits like a machine, but, sees us equal, Doctor's kind of cold-hearted, but it also said that Theresa, sorrowful and a very warm person, and also that she turned a blind eye to the Doctor. Interesting. And again, that sort of adds that whole mystique there about what possibly happened, is again that she probably felt that the Doctor's choices kept more people alive. So it's one of those aspects where, yes, he does see people as pawns. He is cold-hearted, but at the same time, an outsider can see that as possibly, because he's so calculative and because he wants to win, he will make sure that more people survive in the end. He won't cry for the loss of that one soldier, but he'll at least acknowledge that that one soldier dying led to more people surviving. So it is one of those aspects of, like, it's a lesser of two evils aspect there, I guess is the best way to put it. I did also forget that, yes, during that conversation with the guy that W was killing after the fall of Theresa, it implied that the Babel commander, which should be the Doctor, made the right call as well. We made the right call, him working for Theresa, and the Babel commander made the right call. It does sort of hint the idea that the Doctor gave her up to die in order to end the war, but I don't think it's going to go that far. I don't think it'll go that far. I also did like a lot of the chemistry between Ennis and W. Again, it kind of felt like they were always at odds with each other, not ever trusting each other, but having sort of that feeling that there's a camaraderie there. Still in the very end, there's a camaraderie still there in the end. And yes, at the very end, having Ennis essentially sacrificing herself in order to get that information to W. Like, she felt that W needed to know that there was some sort of threat looming behind Tala. It was a good little chemistry there. I like the two of them. But anyways, really good episode. Again, a lot to really kind of dive into here. Hopefully I made some sort of sense in a lot of this stuff. It was getting kind of confusing for me personally, but I still really enjoyed it. It was a really fantastic episode, getting a lot of insight into things, and hopefully more in the future. But hope you guys enjoyed the video. As always, if you did, hit the like button down below. If you like this content and want to support out more, become a member of the channel. But until next time, y'all take care.